Um, I say yes to everything because it's like, yeah, let's give it a shot. And it's like, I didn't think I'd be making commercials even a month ago. All of a sudden this guy reached out for a video. I'm like, yeah, well, we can do this. This is how this would look. This is how, a guest would approach a hotel. This is why your product is good for hotels. So let's phrase it this way. And, next thing you know, I've got a whole script and we've got a 60-second video that
Next minute, Denzel Washington's is show.
Right, he's making a cameo. I'm like, Denzel, sorry, that we got Idris. You're a little old for this role, but we'll call you in the next one.
Well, welcome to the Pay Me and Plane Tickets podcast. I know it's been just busy times, but I'm glad you were able to make it. And I know that you have a busy schedule, so thank you so much for hopping on. I think
Of
your
course.
story, your leadership style, and of course your journey, I believe, is something that should be told and expressed. So, Calvin Tilokee, welcome. You are the CEO of RevPAR Media, and I want to get into the importance of RevPAR, sort of your
Mhm.
expertise in it, and also why is it so impactful in the hospitality industry. But I want to start just from the bare basics. Where do
Yeah.
you hail from?
So I using, today's PC language, I identify as a New Yorker that lives in LA. Yeah,
We'll take it.
yeah. I'm from New York. I've lived in New York most of my life, and my wife and I moved out here about 3 years ago. Um, she got a great job offer out here, and with what I do, I like to say as long as I got a Wi-Fi connection, I can work. So
Yeah, perfect.
it worked out for me. I mean, and I was task forcing out here in LA some years ago, probably about 2 years before we actually moved. And I remember getting off that plane, 10 o'clock in the morning on in January, and it was 75 degrees.
Yeah.
I said, I could deal with that. So, hey, if you,
Uh, can you deal with the dry heat or no?
yeah, I know you were talking about dry heat. I've been in Vegas when it 115 degrees. We went for my brother's bachelor party in August. And one thing he wanted to do, he wanted to go to the Hoover Dam.
Oh,
So
okay.
we took a drive and we went out there, and I mean it was 100. We were baking. I'm like, this is a heat I've never felt anything like this before. It's like it just stays on your skin. You get back in the car, the AC is blasting, you're still hot. It's like
Right.
you feel it coming off of yourself.
Yeah, no, and coming from New York, we're used to having snow days, but then when you get out to Arizona, it was very odd to hear they have heat days. They
Yeah.
can't. It's a whole
Yeah.
different, like the complete
Wow.
polar opposite of what.
Yeah, no, actually, I actually never even heard of that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Um, in your earlier years, did you travel often? Was travel a part of your lifestyle?
Oh, huge, huge. Yeah. So my family is from Trinidad, in the Caribbean. So we traveled a lot. I had a passport when I was about one. Um,
Might be a rough.
uh, it might be. Yeah, it might be. I mean, I've been traveling back and forth to Trinidad since before I could remember. A lot of my extended family is there still. So big part of our upbringing was spending our summers. Anytime we were off school, we went to Trinidad for the whole summer, 3 months. And that was every year until probably college age or so, when other things started coming to life and you had to spend the summers working and that kind of thing. In between that, we took trips mostly to the Caribbean, it's where my parents was from, and they feel comfortable. But we had a timeshare in St. Martin, so I've been to St. Martin quite a bit, different places like that. So as far as the youth years, pre my work life, that was the extent of the travel, at least internationally. Domestically, a few things here and there, maybe Florida and stuff like that. But I didn't really start traveling extensively until you get a job and can make your own money, right?
So you're earning your dollars. That's what the family's like. All right, you can go do what you got to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, while we're paying, this is where we're going. When you make your own money, go where you want.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. I always ask this next question because I've noticed that a lot of people took advantage of traveling abroad during university. I don't know, is
Yeah.
that sort of fit you as well or no?
No, I don't recall us having that sort of a program. You know, back in my day, I'm gonna sound like, oh man, I don't know that we had that. I'm sure it was a thing at schools at that time, but no, we didn't really have that. While I was in college, I mean, my travel was mostly it was definitely domestic at that point. Spring breaks, a couple times we went down to Orlando, Daytona, things like that. But yeah, nothing international at that point in time. I didn't get to Europe until I was probably 25,
Ah,
26 years old.
yeah. Okay. No,
Yeah,
and I kind of parallel you. I didn't take advantage of any of the traveling abroad outside of just, the normal spring break, 1 week vacation or whatever it was. But
right.
I've heard a lot, I'm just being in the space, you learn a lot of people did take advantage of it. So yeah, going back in time, I wish I did.
Yeah, yeah, I know,
Exactly.
definitely.
So, what led you into the hospitality industry? How did you get your first start into it?
Yeah. Well, as we discussed, travel's been a big part of my life. It's just something that was always natural. But I'm very curious person. Curious about different cultures and things like that. I mean, even though, being Caribbean is my culture, I wouldn't know it if we didn't go um every summer and spend time there and learn the culture, learn the food and what it's like to live there. And, so anytime I travel, um, that's how I like to travel. I like to go to local spots. I want to eat what locals are eating and drinking and, things like that. So it's always been a part of me. And growing up, as I mentioned, at some point we had a timeshare in St. Martin. And this I must have been, I think, or maybe around 12, 13 years old, which is that weird age where you're not old enough to do anything on your own, but you are old enough to babysit. So my
Right.
parents, my parents would hit the casino and I'd be watching my brother and like my younger cousins or something that were on the trip with us. And you know, it was like, okay, we go to the beach, but we do that in the morning with my parents and we were just bored, it's like nothing to do really. And I
Right.
remember my parents came back and my dad was like, "Hey, what'd you do?" I was like, "Nothing. It was boring here. There's nothing for kids to do." And then he asked me a question that, kind of changed my whole perspective. He was like, "Well, what would you do differently?" And even at that age, I remember having answers for him right away. I was like, "Well, I would have this. I would have a kids' room, or maybe some games by the pool, or something." And ever since then, I just started to look at our travels that way. How would I improve it? What do I like? What do I not like? What would I do differently? What's good? What's not good? Um, and then once I got to school, I actually didn't go into school as a hospitality major. Like most people, you're very confused at 17. I was going into college. What do I know what I want to do with my life? Um, I went in as a biology major, which is something that a lot of people don't know. Um, my father works in the dental industry, so I was like, I'll just be a dentist. I was good at science in high school, so I was like, I guess that's what I'm doing, right? Um, but while I was in school, I made friends with a few people that were in the hospitality program. And would just start to talk about what they were doing. They had a lot of hands-on classes. They'd be cooking one day, they'd be serving another day, and then there were events that they had to do. And I'm like, this sounds like what I like. This sounds interesting. And I went to find out more about it, and I was like, yeah, this is for me. So I switched my major, and that was it. And yeah, I mean, we had so many hands-on experiences. That's what I learned best that way. I learned visually when you could put things into action. There was a hotel on campus, so you could have your class that day about, operations and then go work the front desk the same day. Part of our program was to work in housekeeping in the hotel, for a few weeks or whatever it was. We had events that we did with the drama society. We ran There was like a whole dinner theater for a weekend.
Oh,
So
wow.
hospitality students we'd order the food, cook it, serve it, busted down the rooms, set up the events. We ran the whole thing, and then the drama students, did their thing on stage. Um, we had another event that was like a fundraiser for the school, so like like a gala event,
Yeah.
and that was run by students as well. That we did everything, so it was great to be able to apply what we were learning in class immediately.
Yeah.
And just hearing them talk about it led me to it. And I'm so glad that I decided to make that move for myself, because that was it. And then, while being like summer breaks and stuff like that, I would get a job when I came back home, either at a restaurant or hotels, working front desk, whatever it was I could do.
Right.
I bartended for a while, whatever it was. I just, you know, your parents are like, you're not going to sit home all summer, so you got to get to go get a job. Um, and yeah, I got jobs in hospitality and just kind of did all different things. And once I was able to graduate, fortunately, I got a job in a hotel, and it just kind of took off from there.
Well, yeah, and what you described was a very unique experience because most in their study don't get to apply it in real time in
Yeah,
any particular discipline or major that 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 they're choosing. I definitely didn't. I didn't, so that's very unique. I'm shocked to hear that there was a hotel actually on campus that you were able to
yeah,
practice what you're actually learning.
yeah, yeah. It was great. It's great, great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, the perfect head start.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Can't beat it.
So when did RevPAR become part of sort of when did that start entering your realm?
Yeah, so I mean, this has got to be maybe going back 12 years. This is probably around 2000 and yeah, 2010 to 2012-ish. RevPAR, RevPAR Blooms, this all started with an Instagram page. So I just started making memes about working in hotels, and initially this was in the days where there were like 9 different templates, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
Bad Luck Brian and Sweet Brown, and like everybody was using the same pictures to make memes on.
right.
And I'd make one, I'd print it out, I'd put it on my door or something, and it just kind of became a thing that like each week people could kind of look forward to. And then eventually, I made it into a Facebook group because I had joined a company that was a bit larger. We were spread out all around the country. We only saw each other once a year at a conference. So I was like, let me make this Facebook group, and we can kind of all dump our memes in here and just stay in touch and have a good time. And it eventually got to the point where I was the only person creating these memes every day. So it kind of started to become known as Calvin's group, as opposed to just all of us, right?
Right.
Um, and then because we were all working for the same company and everybody knew where I worked and who I worked with, making a joke about a certain role, like if I made a joke about a GM, people thought I was talking about my GM. And, like I've already been working for 8 years at this point. No, I'm pulling from history, from things that, happen and that you continuously see happen, funny situations.
Yeah.
And then one day I made a joke, I made a meme about like your analyst messing up a rooming list or something like that. And come in the next morning, my analyst is freaking out. She doesn't say a word to me other than, "What did I do?" I'm like, "Good morning, first of all. I have no idea what you're talking about. What happened?" And she's like, "No, I saw your meme." I was like, "It's a joke." And I was like, "Okay, now we've got to change this the way this is working." So then I went to Instagram, and for the first few years on Instagram, I didn't put my face anywhere. Um, I kind of figured whoever knew at that point, the few hundred people that were now in this group would know. Okay, yeah, they're me. But I was like, as this grows, that'll dilute, and most people just won't know who I am, because I don't want it to be that like I'm talking about any particular person or any particular hotel or brand or anything like that. Um, so that's kind of how this all started. And then I learned content creation, obviously, from the inside out. I learned social media um, as a content creator, and simultaneously working in hotels, being a revenue manager, working with PR and social media agencies. I began to understand that there's a disconnect between hotels and social media agencies. The agencies don't really understand the hotel business.
Yeah.
They don't understand how to create content that is going to be impactful for a hotel. As far as when to post, who are we posting to? Like, who is the guest checking in? Who's the guest that we're trying to attract?
Yeah.
These are all things that, as a revenue manager, you have to understand if you're going to set a price point. If you're running a Hampton Inn, you might want to charge $300 for a room. You're probably not going to get it because that's not your demographic. That's not your audience. And it's very similar when it comes to content. It's my content is successful because I know my audience. I am the audience. I'm working the same jobs that they worked. I've worked in
Right.
hotels for, at this point, over 20 years. So I know what salespeople are doing today. I know what every revenue manager is doing today, you know. And that's why it's impactful, because I know the audience and I can put something in front of them that they're going to resonate with. And it's the same thing when you're trying to publicize a hotel on social media. Is if you have to know who it is, who's your audience, who you're trying to reach, and then, well, what does that person like? What about us can we show them that's going to attract them to book a room?
That's very true. And everything that you mentioned about what you did was you kind of created a community using
Yeah.
RevPAR as like kind of the underpinning joke as like sort of the sell. But what
Hmm.
it's doing is it's allowing the hotel brands, the hospitality industry to connect with social media in a way that they haven't in any other way before. So
Hmm.
with that being known, do you think that the hotel brands now have a better understanding of social media than I would say five, yeah, 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago?
Um, Probably marginally. Yeah, I think I've been on record. I've been saying this for a long time. Hospitality, we're very slow to adopt new things. It's
Yeah,
it's very much an industry that is a this is the way we've always done things type
yeah.
of a deal. I think it needs a shakeup. The joke I always make is it took a global pandemic for us to embrace QR codes, right? That
Right.
technology was out at least 10 years prior to COVID that I knew about,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it wasn't until the pandemic happened that we finally in restaurants said, hey, scan this code to pull up the menu. Or in the hotel, scan this code to get your Wi-Fi or your mobile key or whatever it is. We weren't doing any of that before, and that technology had been there, right? We don't do things typically as an industry until it's forced on us, until we have no choice, and everybody is like, "Why don't you have this?" Then we'll invest in it, and then we'll do it. Um, so to answer your question, I would say probably marginally. I think it's become such a public thing for people to be on social media, and everything is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now, and all of these different things. I think most people have, at least they have an understanding that somebody's doing this and somebody's using these platforms, so we should be active. The next step is understanding what we do, what my agency brings to the table is how to do that effectively. You don't want to just be on a page. And a lot of hotels have done that. They do it just to tick a box. Okay, we need to be on Instagram. Let's just do it. But where's the strategy behind that? What's your end goal? How is that actually helping you? You're investing time and or money into having a presence on social media. It needs to bring something back. So you need to do it properly.
Very true. And of course, that it's very much more vital now because a lot of brands, their marketing budgets are thinning so
Right.
they're really they're trying to allocate more diversely but smart to which type of media they actually can get a larger return. And so I
Hmm.
believe that with hotel brands, and actually I would pose a question to you. I think they've always thought that social media doesn't net them a great return. So they
Right.
rather not bother with it. Is that true?
I think that is true. I think that's 100% true, but it's because we didn't do it right. From what I see, it's always one of two approaches. We either give it to the youngest person in the hotel because
Mhm.
we assume that they know social media, and you're entrusting the marketing of a probably usually $1 million plus asset
Yeah.
to somebody that has a full-time job already, right? So you didn't hire them to do social media. They're a sales coordinator, they're working front desk, whatever it is, and you just threw that on top of them. So sure, they'll post when they get time, or maybe they'll post when it's not busy, but as soon as their full-time job takes over, social media goes to the back seat. Nothing's going to work that way. That's like a gym membership, right? You could sign up, but if you're not going consistently, no results are coming. Um,
Very true.
or the alternative is you have these hotels, typically on the independent side, because you have to be a lot more invested in your marketing, because people don't know what an independent hotel is, right? Until you tell them and you find them. They typically will go the agency route, but it's typically a here's a check, do our social media. We're not giving them the information. We're not giving them the game plan. We're not telling them, hey, look, this is our audience. Where 70% of our travelers are female, 30% are male. They're coming from this geographical area. This is how much they typically spend. They don't, we're not doing that. And the agencies don't even know to ask those questions because they're social media agencies. They've never worked in hotels.
Right.
So they don't know to ask, hey, look, next week is Memorial Day as we're recording this. Um, you need to have been posting about that too for the past 2 or 3 weeks,
Right.
right? Because people don't typically, most hotels, people are not booking a room the same day, the same week for a trip like that.
Right.
They probably book that, months in advance.
Right.
So that's when you need to understand, okay, what is your booking window for these different periods where you may need help? Now we want to post about that. For an example, in New York City hotels, most people actually book New Year's Eve in January
True.
because they just saw it on TV. They just saw Ryan Seacrest and Pitbull and Mariah Carey doing her thing, and they're like, I'm going to do that next year. And they book it in January. So for my clients in New York City in January, we were posting once a week about New Year's Eve. Hey, book our package. This is what we just did. These are all the pictures from yesterday. Book now. And then we'll drum it up again as we get closer to the fall, September, October. We'll start again as people start to think, because then you have the people like, whoa, what are we doing for New Year's Eve? We didn't even think about it.
Right.
So, but you have to understand that, you have to know that, or be prepared to ask the questions of the hotels, right? But they wouldn't even know where to start with that, most agencies, because they don't really think about it that way. It's let's just put some pictures up, and again, if a hotel comes to you and just says, "Hey, look, just we just need to be present, do whatever you do," then why would they ask the question?
Makes sense.
So the issue is on both sides, and we kind of bridge that gap where I have extensive experience in hotels from a revenue management standpoint, from a marketing long-term thinking standpoint, and I'm a content creator, so I know how social media works. I didn't just start this because, oh, people should do this. I know it. I know how to grow an audience. I know how to connect with a community. And basically, it just hotels need to figure that out and figure out how you do get that blend of both. Have more than just be present on social media. Use it as a tool. Use it as something that's really going to be part of your marketing funnel. That's going to drive people back to your building, because ultimately that's what you want. You want people to click on that link and book a room.
Very true. And I know RevPAR Media is sort of the intermediary behind those like two different data points, or like that trouble data point. But
Mhm.
before RevPAR Media, who owned that type of statistic? Like, who was it, the social media the agency that would say, hey, using your example, let's start posting about New Year's Eve in January now, since everybody's been
Mhm.
watching on TV and all the entertainment has been going on, or would it have
Mhm.
been the hotel that should have went to the agency and saying, "Hey, this is what we've noticed. Can you guys apply this to the advertising methodology that we want to purchase or whatever?" Who was the like what was it, 80/20 or 60/40 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not confident that in most cases that ever happened.
Mm,
So a lot of that conversation you're describing would typically happen in the revenue management office, probably the marketing or even PR, right? And that's if That's if they were all going to the same meeting, right? But if you just go from a revenue management standpoint, we're constantly looking 30, 60, 90 plus out. So we know, okay, we're once a day passes, you're already looking at that day for next year. So
Right.
once New Year's Eve comes, okay, how did we perform? What was our occupancy? What was the rate? How did our RevPAR do? Now we've got to start setting it up immediately for next year because not to get too technical, but most hotels you can book up to 50 weeks out, 50. So you've got like a 2 week window to analyze that date and say, okay, we're going to set this up, because if you don't set it up right, those people that do book early for New Year's Eve, they're going to get a discount they shouldn't get, right? If you don't set it up properly. Next thing you know, you're looking and you're 50% full of a rate that is half of what you sold last year, and you're done. No matter what you do, you can't fix that unless you kick everybody out.
Right.
you know? So your revenue managers would be the ones to consistently be looking forward out. Okay, what events are coming up? How are we strategizing it from a rate standpoint? But most revenue managers aren't like me. They don't go to the marketing meeting.
Right.
They don't do that. I was fortunate to work for a company where a lot was put on the plate for the revenue managers. We had to sit in on our digital marketing calls and the website. Um, how did we, use the website to drive rooms? For a great example, I was in a meeting once, and this company had this cool tool where they literally would show you, it was kind of a heat map where people were spending most of their time on
Uh,
the site. And you would think there was like the book now up in the corner, and it was just the banner ad right in the middle was the biggest thing. So what I did is I switched it from a discounted rate to our highest rate, right in the middle. Like, if that's where people are going, I want them to book the highest rate. And it worked. We improved our revenue by like 18% over the next couple of months. But I wouldn't know that if I didn't go to meeting,
right.
from PR and marketing stuff. We did a really cool promo at one of my hotels with Game of Thrones. They were it was just right before the last season of the show, the final season.
Oh, okay.
And so they wanted to create this suite where they just decorated as Game of Thrones. So we had the banners, we had the goblets of wine, the F&B came with the big turkey leg, and like this real medieval setup. And it was super cool. And then I'm in the meeting, I'm like, so okay, how much are we charging the suite for? And nobody had an answer. I'm like, guys, we've
Yeah.
got to try to do this. I mean, the show was on Sunday,
Uh,
right? We run maybe 72% on a Sunday night. So these rooms are going to be empty.
yeah.
Let's give it a shot. And fortunately, we were able to pull it off. F&B was able to onboard. They're like, yeah, we can help you set this up every week. And we did. And we made an extra 18,000 in revenue. Um,
Wow.
for because we sold two of those suites for over 2 grand every single Sunday for the course of the season, which was maybe at least 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Um, but again, if I'm not in that PR meeting,
You're not saying
that's
that.
not going to happen. And, because a PR person's not going to think that. And a revenue manager won't have the resources to push this out. I mean, our GM was a celebrity at the by the end of this. He was on ABC, on a
Well,
couple of news channels, radio, getting into, because the PR was incredible. We ended up in the New York Times, the Post, Time Out New York did a piece on it. Everybody was trying to come to the hotel to see it and take pictures and talk about it. So that's how I view my agency, is putting that together, putting the creative and the bottom line together. How do we do that? And I don't, in my experience, and from what I've seen and heard, I don't think a lot of those conversations really happened. It was all very separate, you know,
everything was very,
fortunately.
yeah, separate as you said, but
Yeah.
being that you were in these meetings, you had this information, you were able to capitalize on it, and what a turnout. Mike's laughing because he's a huge Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
So he's like, he wish he would have known. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I'll send you some pictures, man. Yeah, Google it. It was really cool. Really cool.
yeah, no, no, that sounds like a wonderful event, and it shows the importance of uh being sort of multifaceted in different sections of a hotel. Because people just
Yeah.
think, all right, look, as long as the room is booked, that's the end of it. And no, there's so much more. I always say a
Exactly.
hotel is like an economy in a building, pretty much.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And, fortunately, I think because of it's my nature, but also because of going to school like I did, we did all these different jobs. And I'm also just a very curious person, right? Like I don't think that what we did in revenue management is not the end all be all. I don't actually do anything when you really think about it. A lot of, sales brings in a lot of a lot of the leads. I'm just here to kind of direct to make sure that's all as profitable as possible. But I'm not checking anybody in. I'm not cleaning a room. I'm not greeting them at the bar when they come in. And at any one of these checkpoints, you lose a guest forever. And it's harder to bring in new guests than retain people that are happy. We have nothing to do with that. We play a huge part in making sure that everyone has a job to do, though, because if we don't make enough money, people get laid off. You know, I had a revenue manager that explained that to me that way. She said, if we don't do our jobs, people lose theirs. And I always took that very seriously.
Yeah.
But I think too many of us in the industry across all departments don't take enough time to understand the other side, to understand, hey, what is sales doing today? What's the front desk like? What's housekeeping like? Because it all works together. And if anybody drops that baton, it screws it up for all of us, you know.
It starts with the revenue. That's what's able to sustain every aspect of the hotel in a way. Do you also work with international hotels in the brands?
Like through my agency?
Yeah, yeah, through your agency.
Not yet, but I'll use this as advertisement. Call me.
Ready.
I got 800 number, so it's toll free. You could email. Find me on LinkedIn. It's free. No, no, I would love to. I would love that. I'm actually actively looking for some hotels in the UK specifically right now. But yeah, no, I would not yet, but I'd love to do something like that.
Well, that's definitely a growth engine for you because I believe there
Yeah.
are more independent brands in the UK and actually in other countries outside of America,
Mhm.
and they are like the normal franchised brands as well. But
Got it. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, definitely take it. So give him a call. He's over here. He's right
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Uh, I want to go back just to like the social media part of it. Do you
Mhm.
that the travel influencers are a good engine for hotel brands to sort of leverage that community to get attention attraction into a particular property?
Yeah, so funny. I'm actually giving a talk about this in a month at
Okay.
a at a revenue conference on influencer marketing. So it's funny timing about it, but it's yeah, absolutely, it absolutely is a viable, profitable channel. But similar to the overall social conversation, we didn't do it right from the beginning, and I think right now influencer marketing has a negative connotation. Um, through it, it really was our own fault in the hospitality industry. I think once people especially Instagram, because travel is the number one interest of Instagram users. So once Instagram became big and an everyday thing, and people started growing followers, then it was like, well, hey, this person has a lot of followers, and let's have them stay at our hotel, without verifying much of anything. Again, some of the same questions. Who's their audience? Does that audience align with your audience, with your guest? Is that the guest you would want to stay at your hotel? Is their audience even real?
Right.
Right? Do we know, okay, because you can buy followers, you can do all those kind of things, and there's different ways to check this. Like, is their engagement high? If they've got 1 million followers and they're getting 25 likes on a post,
Right.
chances are either these people are fake or they're just not interested in what this person is posting. So what makes you think if you give them a free room that they post about it, that this person, any follower is going to say, yeah, let me stay at that hotel. They don't care about what they're posting regularly, you know. Um, and that was something that we screwed up. I can give an example. I was working at a hotel. Um, fancy boutique, hotel. Um, and my GM calls me in a weekend and he wants to give this guy like, I think he wanted like a either a free or like a $99 rate. Our average rate at this hotel was over 360 bucks. Um, on average. So when we'd give somebody like a 150 is probably the lowest
Right.
rate you would give out there. And he wanted to go lower than that. I'm like, why? He's like, well, this guy, he has 300,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, go send it to me. I take a look. The guy's a DJ, right? And I'm like, nothing he posts, he doesn't post about even just travel in general or where he stays. It's just all his music stuff, which is cool because that's what he does, right? And that's what his audience is there for. They're not there to see where he travels. They and if he was posting about it, maybe they would be curious. When you're interested in people, everybody travels, has to do something. If he's a DJ and he's successful, he's in different cities all the time. If he was posting about those hotels, then maybe you could see an opportunity, but none of that existed. But my GM was just so hung up on the fact that he had 300,000 followers. And of course, if we put this in front of 300,000 people, it's going to be good for us. I'm like, it's not going to be because he's not posting about any of this stuff. And we're not running a nightclub. If I mean, there are some cool hotels that have, nightclubs. I'm sure Miami has a bunch of places like that. If you had one of those hotels, then maybe it does make sense. Comp the guy, but maybe he's at the nightclub or that audience will come to our hotel because we have a nightclub and he promoted it. But it's making sure that that kind of stuff is aligned, and a lot of we've had requests for influencers, your fitness influencers who are in bikinis 99.9% of the time. And again, that might work in a certain market if you have a certain kind of hotel, Miami, Vegas, hot destinations where you got a pool or whatever. It makes sense to align to collaborate with someone like that. But if you're in New York City or if you're running a different type of property, that's not the person you want to collaborate with. Nothing against them, it's just not a fit. Even if they have hundreds of thousands of followers, those followers are not interested in seeing your hotel. They're interested in seeing that person dress the way that they dress. They don't care. So we've made too many of those mistakes, and now oh well, we don't see anything. We don't see any return from these. What's the point of giving the free rooms if we don't get anything back? But it's like, did you do your due diligence? Did you research the person? It probably, from what I've seen, it's mostly our fault because we just picked the wrong people.
Mm. Right. Like I guess it's just sort of the analyzing of who actually can get the benefit from this travel influencer community, who actually has it. And I think the most poignant word you said was engagement. The
Hmm.
DJ, really his engagement is related to music. And so anybody who's following this individual really is paying attention to music, or as in the fitness influencer, it's yeah, they're traveling around because they have to travel, but the engagement is different and it's not necessarily travel related. So even if they do showcase
Right.
how much will that actually convert into booking that room? With that being said, let's say you do have a travel influence,
Hmm.
um, and they showcase a very beautiful property. Uh, the 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 person might be like, oh, I may want to stay there, but you don't know
Hmm.
when that's actually going to come.
Yeah.
It might be a year from now, but and so much happens in that time that you never
Right.
know if it really does pay off. So
Hmm.
how do you balance? Okay, maybe we did give it to the right person, but it just takes time for this to be realized.
Hmm.
Is that
Yeah. No, absolutely. So that's a great question. It's certainly it's something that you have to kind of go in with the plan. That's really what it comes down to, right? Like what's your goal for the collaboration? We've done different types. We've had some where um there was like a girl band stayed at one of our hotels. They had maybe three or four. They had over, I think, 100, probably 100 million followers. So it was a lot. It was crazy. But not a ton of travel content. However, we were like, this is a lot of people. They had great engagement. Everything that they posted went, you know, almost viral. So like their audience is very engaged with what they do. So our goal with that one was to say, you know what? Don't even worry about posting on your feed because it doesn't really fit with your feed, but give us a lot of stories. Give us more stories than we would normally ask for. Put a link back to our hotel. And then once the collaboration is over, we went to them, and because on Instagram you can go, you can look and see how many people click the link. So that way you don't have an exact, but we know, hey, 100 people visited our website on the day that they posted.
Got you.
If you take your normal conversion rate, which is somewhere between 1-2%, you can say, hey, maybe we book 10, 20 rooms. At the very least, we knew we drove traffic to the website. I tell people it's like marketing is very hard to quantify. Measure ROI at its best. It's like when you watch, the NBA playoffs is on right now. You're watching the Celtics game, and there's a Pepsi logo in the corner. Pepsi doesn't know how many people bought because they saw that, but they know, hey, 3 million people watched this game, and that logo was constantly in front of their eyes. So the next time they're thirsty, maybe they'll grab a Pepsi. You know,
Fair
that's
enough.
kind of the thing. And that's how you use the influencers as well. Again, as long as the people that are looking at the content are interested and engage with what they're doing, you can safely say, hey, this is worthwhile. Again, you follow up with stats, like I said, the website links, and you can even do different collaborations where you give them a code. Hey, use this code for 10% off the room. Now the hotel can track that. Anybody who booked using that code, you could see. Again, it depends what's the goal. Are we looking to simply book rooms right now, just get some visibility on the hotel or specific promo? But you got to go in knowing what you want. And hotels didn't really do that. It was just like, hey, come stay, people will see it, and then we'll see what happens. And then then they get the wrong influencer who doesn't give them the info, and they're like, wait, this doesn't work. Again, if you don't go to the gym, the membership don't work.
Very good. So, uh, so nowadays, it's improving. There are better indicators and much in-depth analysis that now you can definitely leverage the influencer market better. Um, do you think that it's improving? Do you think that, or has the ship sailed for the hospitality industry as it relates to social media marketing?
No, I don't think it's the ship has sailed at all. I mean, I think the fact that I'm giving a talk about this, I was requested to talk about this topic, shows people are interested. People are still looking to figure it out. And there's no, absolutely. I think there's some great content creators out there. I mean, we did some great collaborations, and there are people who do this really well. But it's knowing what questions to ask, knowing what to look for to find those people. We if you ask somebody for, what's great now, again, as a creator, I know these things. The Instagram has insights. You can click a button and it could show you how many people are following you, where they're from. Ask for that information up front. Hey, send us your insights, send us your demographics. If you don't get it, they're not legit. You can read them yourself, and that's what we do. We help vet influencers for our hotels, so I can tell them, look, their engagement is really low, or their audience is not from a place where your guests come from, or vice versa. Hey, they may not have as many followers as we typically do, but most of their audience is in Brazil, which brings 30% of our visitors to the page every month. So they're in a place that is going to be pretty productive for us. Looking and understanding all that stuff. And again, it just goes back to what is your goal? Who are you looking to attract? You have to understand those things about your hotel and your page before you could align with the right influencer.
I see what you're saying. Now that social media is growing, so you have new media forms coming out. What do you think about TikTok? How is that fitting into the hospitality? It's
Yeah.
becoming the new Google. People are turning to TikTok more,
Mhm.
just and
Yeah.
in terms of vacations or business travel or whatever travel an individual's doing. Um,
Mhm.
there's a good chance it might be on TikTok.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, TikTok probably became, I think, at least in the industry, has become probably more of a hot item than influencer marketing. People, oh, TikTok's a waste. It's like they're just so mad about it. It's just an app, you know. Um, TikTok is great for F&B. If you have the ability to do quick videos about, somebody making a drink, somebody giving a quick, like a recipe, how it goes from the kitchen to what it looks like on the plate. If you use it that way, that's probably the best way for a hotel, any hotel to use TikTok. You can plus you can do quick tours as well. I love to do that for all my clients. Take your phone, give a tour of the hotel, give a tour of your rooms, your public space, the things that make your hotel stand out. And you can do that in 30 seconds, 60 seconds. You could show the lobby, how to walk from your lobby up to the room, speed it up, those sped up videos, put some music to it, boom, you got content. It's not um we don't need to be afraid of using TikTok. And again, it's a much younger demographic on that app. So do these people travel to your hotel? Do they travel to your area? Is this a demographic of people that's an age group of people that you need to reach, that you want to reach? Some of these hotels again have a nice rooftop. You've got a nightclub or whatever. Any of these Vegas, Miami, Key West type of hotels. Well, maybe not Key West. Key West is more of a Facebook demographic. So those guys are a bit older. But yeah, if you're like, a hip, funky, trendy hotel, you probably need to reach those Gen Zers, right? Because and they're going to be on TikTok. And creating the content that fits on that platform. Like, so you don't want to go on TikTok and do a 3 minute talk, right? It's not going to work. That's not what they're there for. People are there for like 10, 15-second quick things. What can you show of your hotel in 15, 30 seconds that's going to be attractive? And a lot of that is F&B stuff, quick tours of your room. Hey, this is what our beds look like, things like that. But you're going to have to curate your content differently than you would probably even for Instagram or definitely for Facebook. Um, but it's certainly doable. It's, again, does that fit with your brand? Does that fit with the audience that you're trying to reach? Um, how does that align with your overall strategy? And I'm using words that people don't use typically when it comes to this. They're just like, here's a check, somebody do it. Like, we need to be on TikTok, post something, you know?
Yeah, they kind of, I think there's still the idea of like this pay and go method, and just
Right.
pay and turn your back and let's see if it turns out the way they want it to. Kind of, trying to
Yeah.
get away. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of and I asked the great Susan Berry this question, but so uh Airbnb is
hmm
pretty much it's a solid competitor now to hotels. And there are, I would probably phrase it as like conglomerates who now own, a bunch of different rooms or homes, and they kind of package it as like this Airbnb hospitality business in a way. Uh,
hmm
does RevPAR, are you guys trying to also do RevPAR for maybe those type of firms as well? Is that even
Yeah,
possible, or is it different?
yeah, absolutely. Funny enough, I had a conversation a while back I was on the Alex and Annie podcast. If you know them, they what's it? What they call themselves, the Real Housewives of Vacation Rentals or something like that. Um, Shout out to them. Great show. But yeah, I've had subsequent conversations with them because after our conversation, we're like, hey, can you do this for vacation rentals? And yeah, absolutely. We've booked, during the pandemic, where I was still on the East Coast. My wife and I drove to Vermont and stayed at a few vacation rentals simply because we found them on either on you know your verbos and stuff like that, but they had Instagram pages. And that was showcasing what the home looked like, different rooms and stuff like that. So absolutely. I mean, anything in that sort of space where you need to reach people. Everybody's on an app now. Everybody is on social media. That's where people find things. Um, and yeah, if you've got a vacation rental that you're looking to promote, it really is all the same. You're going to need to know where these people are coming from, where they're driving from. Are they local? Are they coming from 5 hours away like I was? You know, why are they coming to that area? What about your home? What about your rental stands out from your competition? Highlight those things, post them, stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely. We've again, call me. Find me on LinkedIn. I am available, ready, willing, and able to market anything you got on social media.
Well, no,
Challenge me.
yeah. So, I guess what is next for RevPAR Media? What's the next phase of it?
What what they used to say in the cartoons, world domination. Um
Whatever
you, yeah,
RevPAR.
yeah. I mean, we have a lot of fun. The team is growing. So I'm up to I don't want to put any numbers. It might change by the time this comes out. But my team is growing. I've got about graphic design in house. We've got digital marketing as well, so we can handle websites. We had a couple salespeople, some content strategists, and we have a good time doing what we're doing. We like everybody on the team. I'm fortunate. I found some very creative people come up with some great ideas for our clients, and recently got into making commercials,
Oh, nice.
which yeah, it just kind of came across my lap, and I was like, yeah, we can do that, sure. It's a company that's looking to sell into the hotel space, sell to hotels, and we have video creation in house, and he was like, hey, can you make me a video that kind of these are the points that this is what's good about my product. This is how it helps hotels. And yeah, I wrote a script and made a 60-second video for the guy. Um, and he loved it. And we've already made five or six for him. It's led to some other things. And I'm like, yeah, this is something we can do. So, we could make commercials for either products or even an individual hotel. It's something like a walkthrough. Hey, this is where we are. This is what our beds look like. We have an indoor pool, whatever it is, water park. We can create commercials, and that's been really fun. Growing up, one of my favorite movies was Boomerang, and I just loved his job. I loved the fact that this guy, like, you just created commercials and like, okay, no way, I like this, I don't like this, and just that whole creative process was like awesome. And then I'm catching myself. I'm like, I'm actually doing that job now. This is pretty cool.
That's interesting. Wow. So now you've delved into commercials. I wonder what the script writing
Yeah.
was like, because that's a very unique talent.
Yeah, it's kind of I'm working on one right now, which is very interesting. So I've created it to me, it's almost like a long meme, right? Like I'm creating a situation that it's a story, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you're just kind of like, well, what would this person say in that situation? And fortunately, well, what's happening is a lot of hotel related companies are coming to me for marketing. So right now, the one I'm working on involves a revenue manager, a housekeeping manager, and a general manager. And I'm like, well, I know all these people. I was one of them. I've dealt with plenty of the other two. So what would that person say in this situation? What situation would be ironic enough for something like this to happen? And I'm like just writing it. It's fun. And again, that's the great thing about what I do is because it's just all creative. um, I say yes to everything because it's like, yeah, let's give it a shot. And it's like, I didn't think I'd be making commercials even a month ago. All of a sudden this guy reached out for a video. I'm like, yeah, well, we can do this. This is how this would look. This is how, a guest would approach a hotel. This is why your product is good for hotels. So let's phrase it this way. And, next thing you know, I've got a whole script and we've got a 60-second video that we created. So it's that's been fun and that's what I like. It's like you never know what's coming next.
Hey, right now it's a commercial. Next minute, Denzel Washington's is show.
Right, right. He's making a cameo. I'm like, Denzel, sorry, that we got Idris. You're a little old for this role, but we'll call you on the next one.
We'll give you a call.
Right, right.
Oh,
Don't call us, we'll call you.
yeah. Sorry about it, man. We'll give you something on the side. Because
Right, right.
I love to hear the growth of RevPAR Media and your whole so your expertise is now laying into this particular business. I always ask this business question, how are you balancing it all? So there's so much that goes on in RevPAR Media, but there's also the business
Mhm.
of it all. How do you how do you take it all in? How do you sort of balance it all?
Um, I mean, I it's it's a good question. You might think you're balancing it all, and then you realize, wait, hold on a second. Um, no, it's great. I lean on my team a lot. Like I just mentioned, we've got people in different roles, and I look at myself as kind of a coordinator, right? Like, what my graphic designer does, I can't do. She has an eye and a vision and creativity that is unmatched by anyone I've ever met. Um, so I just let her do her thing. It's kind of again going back to Boomerang. Like, yes, you gotta let Strong J be Strong J. She's buck wild, like this girl she can do it all.
Right.
Um, so I kind of just create this situation, create the environment for her to be good at what she does. What do you need from me to get this done by X date? What information do I need to get for you so you can, do your thing? The digital marketing side, same thing. I know a bit about it. I know enough to get into trouble, as they say. But the person I hired, she's an expert. Um, Same things. What do I need to get from this lead, from this prospect for you to be able to be effective and get this done? And I think it's working with people that are strong where you're not. um you can't do it all. I mean, I could sit here and pretend to try to want to do an SEO strategy for somebody, but it's not my strong suit. I'm better on the creative and strategy side. So as opposed to trying to do that, find people, because that's what's going to knock you out of balance, is trying to do everything and thinking that you're going to be effective at everything. You can't. I mean, everybody has they're always somebody better than you at something. And I'm fortunate. I have a lot of great people on my team. I have one, I mean, she's just great at handling tasks. We've got like internal things that, we need to fix this on the website. And she's good. She's got it. Like, I know I can give her things, and she does that. It takes a lot of sweat off me, because then now, okay, whew, I don't need to worry about this. I can focus on going out and finding more business, and going out and working on the content strategies, and making sure that we're analyzing everything. um, yeah, I think that's how you do it. And you have to work in. One thing I learned during the pandemic, which I think a lot of people did, is having distinct breaks. What the way I worked during the pandemic is, we would work right up until 5, 6 o'clock, and then it was like, hard stop, we're going outside for a walk. You know, Even if we've got to come back and do more stuff afterwards, it was just making sure you have these periods where you disconnect from what you're doing. It'll help you be more productive. I have a dog, so I got to walk him twice a day, so that helps. I start my day with a walk, I end my day with a walk. Um, but yeah, I mean, kind of building that stuff in for yourself. I was the type to sit at my desk all day and eat lunch while I'm working. And I realized that wasn't good for me. So I forced myself, stop, go sit, have a meal, and come back to work, and create a little bit more balance. But you just got to be conscious of all those things.
Oh, pretty much you have you're wise because you have smarter people around you and they're able to
Yeah.
sort of balance out the workload, and that's why your growth is just definitely on a high trajectory. Okay. I love everything about it. So we typically ask all these different pay me in plane tickets questions and
Hmm.
you fall on the spectrum. So let's see where you
Love
are.
it.
Because
Let's do it.
I know we have busy days. I know you have a busy day ahead of you. So I want to make sure I give you back your time properly. So
Sure, sure.
if RevPAR Media or if yourself had to be paid in plane tickets, which airline are you choosing?
Ooh. Oh man, that's a good one because not every airline flies everywhere. So you
Okay.
got me on that one. Can I give you two?
You know what?
Can I give you a domestic and an international?
Go for two. One domestic.
Domestic
Yeah.
domestically would be JetBlue. I like them the best.
Okay.
International. International, I think would have to be maybe Virgin.
Virgin. Oh,
Maybe Virgin.
okay. I gotta go.
Yeah. I've flown a few. I was gonna say Swiss, but that's a little too limited, but that's a great experience also. But Virgin probably goes to a few more places and they have a great first class experience. It's
We have had guests who do vouch for Virgin. So you're
yeah,
not alone in your choosing.
yeah, yeah.
When you do travel, is it Airbnb or hotel?
Mostly hotels.
Okay.
Mostly hotels. We have done Airbnb if, like I said, during COVID. But the first time I stayed at a vacation rental was in Switzerland and it was just a much different experience than staying at a hotel in the same place the year before. It depends on the trip, but most of the times we find ourselves at hotels.
All right, no, fair enough. It depends. I guess it depends on the type of trip, therefore.
Yeah.
When you do travel, do you use a travel debit card, a travel credit card to get your points and miles?
Oh man, I feel like I just do a commercial right now. Yeah, I use the Chase Sapphire. Me and Kevin Hart use the same card.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I love it. And those points, and then you could just pop them on your airline.
yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
I'm racking up the points now. Yeah, we'll take a nice trip one of these days.
All right, the Chase Sapphire. I think it's the reserve, right? The reserve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We talked about the positive things of travel in terms of in many different ways. But do you have a
Mhm.
traveling pet peeve?
Oh, how much more time you got on this podcast, man?
We got all.
Traveling. I'll tell you one. I mean, just generally speaking, I think sometimes people don't realize that like other people exist. Where I'm on a on a flight recently and we're in first, and this lady's FaceTiming on speakerphone.
Oh, get out of here! Wow.
And exactly, I'm like, what makes you think anybody wants to hear this nonsense? People do that. I've had that happen like at the gate where they're sitting there and FaceTiming with their kid, and it's all on speakerphone. It's like, guys, there are other people around. Like, if I wanted, I'm blast my DMX for everybody to hear. That would be frowned upon, right? I don't want to hear what your kid has to say. All due respect, I'm sure he's lovely. He or she is a lovely person, and I'm glad that y'all having this moment. Just have it to yourself,
Right.
you know.
Headphones. That's it.
Headphones, man. Jeez.
Easy. Done, I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah. God.
When you do travel, is it a carry-on or check bag?
Carry on most of the time. I carry on if I can. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no. Carry-on gang here too. Uh,
Hmm.
you get to the plane, are you choosing window, aisle, or middle seat?
Oh, who picks the middle? Have you had anybody in the show that said middle?
Mostly back.
Oh, but I want to be cramped. I want to make sure one person got to walk next to me, and then somebody's gonna be sleeping on my shoulder. No, I usually go for the window. I usually go for the window because I don't tend to get up a lot on flights, and you get that little wall so you could take a nap.
All right.
Yeah, on the aisle, people could like pass by. They was bumping your shoulder. You got to wake up when the cart comes by because your elbow's in jeopardy. Um, I usually go for the window if I can.
So definitely the window is like they say it for the dreamers and also the rest. That's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's me.
Question is, who gets the armrests? What's the rule for the
Oh, man, whoever get there first. No. Oh man, yeah, that's a good one too. I think it's whoever's bigger. I'm not a small dude, so I tend to like I'm kind of broad-shouldered too. I'm like, hey, that's mine, what are you gonna do about it? Kind of deal, But then yeah, if you get up and go to the bathroom, game's over. That's mine now. So you got to choose. Do you want your elbow or your bladder to be comfortable? Which one? Can't get both.
Yeah, pick one or now.
Exactly. You gotta make choices.
If you had to travel somewhere for the rest of your life, where would it be and why? Now, there's a cop out answer because a lot of people struggle on this one.
Yeah. So like just one destination for the rest of my life?
Destination.
That is tough. That is very tough. Because I'm the kind of person, it depends how I feel, right? Like sometimes you feel like a beach vacation, sometimes you want to be in the country. Um, I would probably say, and this is the last place that I've been, but it's probably the most beautiful place that I've been. I would say the Cotswolds in England,
Oh wow.
which is their countryside. So maybe like 2 hours outside of London by car. It is gorgeous. It's relaxing. Prior to that, it would have been Switzerland. Um, we've been to Switzerland a few times, like right near Lake Geneva, and I always say it's the most relaxing place I've ever been. Uh, no matter how stressed I am, within a day, I'm just like, you know, but the British countryside is equally as peaceful, relaxing, beautiful. I didn't realize how much I enjoy being in the outdoors
Okay.
until I went there. We hiked probably something like 60 miles in a week.
Oh,
You just and it doesn't even feel like they're just walking around countrysides, farms, and you know, clear day. You can see 16 counties away and stuff like that. If I had no other choice, that would be a place I wouldn't mind being all the time.
well, okay. So, and what was the name of the place again?
The Cotswolds, so
Oh,
Cotswolds. It's like you heard of maybe like Cheltenham. They have the races out there, the horse races. That's where that is. Cheltenham is in the Cotswolds.
okay.
Um, I
Very
would probably say that.
very unique answer. Most people go for like the luxurious, magical place, but no,
Mm,
the British countryside where you kind of get to relax and enjoy the little things.
yeah,
Very unique one. I'll give it to you that one.
yeah, for me.
Uh, Last question. Where's your
Mhm.
next? Where are you flying to next?
Not as sexy as New York. New York. I mean, New York is sexy,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's not like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's not we went from the British countryside to New York City. People have heard of New York City. People know where that is. But yeah, I'll be in New York in a couple of weeks. I'm actually flying out for some clients. We're doing a photo shoot. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to be our first one for these clients. So get us some nice content. I got a few team members that'll be there, so we'll all be there and kind of get to hang out for a few days together. But yeah, so New York is the next trip.
But like coming during when it's warm. It's getting very warm over here. So I think you'll be okay. Instead of cold.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I was born and raised in that, so I ain't too worried. But yeah, I'm coming before it gets too hot. Also, like you
That's
know, late July, August, New York City could miss me too. I'm not interested in all that. Like
true.
musty subways, it's 106 underground, you know.
Don't need to be in the city, especially during those particular times. Exactly. Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing is the best to be in New York. And then I also earmark Christmas. I believe that Thanksgiving holiday time is pretty cozy.
I totally agree. That's one thing I never took for granted living in New York City. Just New York City at Christmas time is magic. It's great. Even as much as I'm not a fan of the cold, obviously I dealt with it for most of my life, but I suck it up around Christmas time, man. Yeah, it's just you got to be in New York around Christmas. There's nothing like it.
No, exactly. No, definitely. Just like you, I suck it up. I'm not a big fan of the cold, but when it
Mhm.
being Christmas, I believe there's no better place to be.
Totally agree.
Calvin, I am so grateful you were able to come on today and just share your insight on sort of RevPAR Media, the hospitality, and how it affects the hospitality industry in all different ways, and kind of add a lot more color than I think is out there. And I believe that
Yeah.
firm is the perfect medium to bridge what is like traditional marketing to the hospitality brand and sort of uh, kind of grow it naturally and organically that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a natural, I think it's a natural fit for hospitality. I mean, hospitality is all about connections. That's what the business is. It's person to person connection at the end of the day. That's what industry was built on, and we can't forget that. And social media is a great way to capitalize on that because as much as we talk about all these different metrics and stuff, at the end of the day, social media was friends connecting with friends online,
Yeah.
right? That's what it all started out. Shout out to Tom from MySpace. Tom was like, "Hey, we we want to make some friends here," and it was like, people you haven't seen in years and stuff. But that's what it's all about. And that same warmth that you want to give when they arrive to the hotel, that's got to come across on your social page. And at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. And if you do that right, they're gonna wanna come book with you.
That's
But yeah, this was an honor, man. It was a pleasure. Thanks for reaching out and booking me for the shows. It's great.